Alright, Jamie, let's see if I can try and explain how I attach this drive roller. So, as you know, on all my other rollers, this is, I have all thread that goes all the way through the pipe to the other side. And then what I've done is I put these caps on here. I just drilled a small hole in the end. The all thread comes through. Here on the outside I have a nut and a washer. On the inside I just did a washer, a nut, and another washer, and then there's just a ever so small space between these two. And then I don't even think I put a nut on the inside. That way I space these apart just enough that there's a little bit of movement, and as you can see, those just freely roll if they need to. The drive roller on this end, because you have the rotisserie at one end, so on this end it's the same concept. Here I have a nut and a washer on the outside. On the inside is a washer, a nut, another washer, the cap, and then on the inside of this there's another washer and a nut, and then I just put some Loctite on it. Actually, I think I actually just welded it because I didn't even want to trust Loctite, so I just welded that nut, and then again just gave a small amount of space here so it doesn't bind up. At this end, this is where we have the rotisserie motor. You know, here's inside here is the shaft, and we have that rubber plug is inside here that you're aware of. And I have the shaft for the rotisserie goes through that rubber plug, and then here I've just got a nut that really I hammered this nut onto here because that drive shaft is actually a square, so I hammered that onto it, and then on the inside here I did another one and just kind of tightened it up so it holds everything nice and tight. And this drive roller is not actually attached to anything except that the shaft is coming into the rotisserie motor. You know, so if you look here, these things are slotted, and it's going to be kind of hard to see here, but yeah, you can't see that very well. But I don't actually have, this drive roller is not actually attached to anything. See, I can move it forward and backward. It's just going through that slot and then attached to the rotisserie motor. The rotisserie motor itself had some holes that I mounted these bolts and attached the rotisserie motor to the frame. And so that is what's holding this drive roller straight. If I were to take these two bolts off, then this rotisserie motor would just fall off, and this thing would just be free to flop around however it wants. So on one end I have the drive roller is attached with a shorter nut, and at this end the drive roller is strictly attached to the rotisserie and free floating within these oval holes that we've got here. So I'm hoping I'm explaining that right. And then, you know, the shaft comes into this bracket, this holder on the rotisserie. And then let me turn this on real quick. So then when it's turning, you know, that's what we have. We just have the rotisserie motor. You know, and most of these, yeah, that one turns. That one's turning. This one not even turning. There's just not any weight. If there was a t-shirt on it, then it would move, but otherwise it just kind of does its own thing. And the ones down at this end are the same way. They're just, you know, they move. You know, they can freely spin. They don't affect the belt at all. And then these are the tensioners that I put for the lower belt to go over the top of, so just so the lower belt wasn't sagging. So I just used a smaller piece, but again, those are they're just there. They don't really do anything other than just hold the belt up. And then the top, you know, I just have the adjustments, and all I do is just lift that and tighten that nut, and then I can raise or lower the heaters. On the inside, I got these, I did this tile floor underneath the bottom belt and put tiles just to retain some of that heat. And I'm usually about 6 to 8 inches away from the belt on my heaters. I keep them both on high, and but it works great. We've been using this thing since July, I guess, or whenever I made that thread, and we average about 300 shirts a day, and this thing has not failed me once. And this, going through this rubber plug here, you can see I'm a slow speed, but this speed appears to be slow, but it's 130 shirts an hour. Now if I grab onto this, you'll hear this motor slow. You know, so that the rubber plug in there is doing its job and holding on to turn the belt, and you know, for the motor to do its thing, because I can stop that. But we have this thing regularly loaded up completely with shirts across the whole 10 feet, and have never had any issues.